Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. And in this video we are talking things all Flesh Eater Courts, as in this video it's going to be my how to start collecting Flesh Eater Court video, but really this is an updated one as I have already done a video on how to start collecting Flesh Eater Courts, but that was probably about a year or two ago now, probably 2 years ago at least. And I felt like they needed a bit of an update as it's one of my favourite armies and you guys voted it in for sure. And these are a fantastic army to collect as they really are quite simple. It's pretty cheap to do so compared to a lot of armies out there. And all you need to do is basically buy the Start Collecting box for Flesh Eater Court about 3-4 times. Get yourself 1 or 2 Archregents and 1 or 2 Varghulfs or convert them up. And in this video I'll explain to you why that is a good way to start collecting your army firstly, joking aside, but also the other elements are part of this army and what is the best buy-in, especially if you want to build up a nice collection, starting slowly or just going all in. I'll explain it in this video. The other thing I want to mention is I have actually done the most in-depth Flesh Eater Court series on YouTube where I have probably about 20 hours worth of content for them, looking at every individual unit and reviewing them separately in their own videos. But what I will say as well is a bit of a summary within that series. I have already done a why play Flesh Eater Court video, so if you're still wondering why to play Flesh Eater Courts, check that out for sure. I've also done a why play one for the Blister Skin, I've done one for the Hollowmorn, and also for why picking a non-Grand Court and going for your own Delusion, which is actually quite an interesting one as well. But with that aside guys, the only thing I want to do as well, just before we go straight into this video, is say a massive shout out to my patrons and YouTube members who, because of these people, I am able to keep up making this content for you guys to help you get into Age of Sigmar, continue your Age of Sigmar journey and help you pick the armies that you really want to play and get the most out of your games. So my top supporters are going to be my Vampire Lords on Zombie Dragon, or I suppose I can say in this particular video, Apparent Ghoul Kings on Zombie Dragon. So this is going to be Stuart F and Filq. Thank you so much for your continued support, especially at that tier. So I always say guys, it makes a huge difference by your very generous contribution alone. So thank you so much. And then my Morgasts, which is Bleed Red, who's been supporting me as a Morghast for a long time now. So thank you so much. My Vampires, who are Mir, Martin S, Rouse321, David A, Ronni H, SpareBear, Christopher H, Stence, Northdrop, Nathan F, and Andrew G. Thank you so much as well, as Vampires do really help me out on this channel. And then my Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas, WolfNick, Michal W, Quad, Cranky Wombat, Christopher C, Krista F, James S, Robin S, Steve T, James T, Patrick F, JJ, Thomas B, R Christopher, and Madcap. Thank you all so much for allowing me to keep going with this channel, and because of you, we have allowed this great community that we all enjoy to grow. And if anyone would like to become one of these amazing people, there's a join button next to the subscribe button. You can become a Age of Nagash member, or you can find a link to my Patreon down below. But we can get into all of that later. If you do enjoy the video, make sure you smash the like and subscribe button. And then getting straight into the video, the first thing I always talk about is your first buy. So when it comes to starting your Bretonnian army, the first thing you're going to want to get is the Battle Tome and also the Scenery Piece. This is something I often mention, and when I say often, I think every time I talk about your first buys for an army, I always say get the Battle Tome, and I always say get the Scenery Piece too if they have one. May sound like not the most too interesting things to buy, but like I say, with the Battle Tome, the reason why you want it is because within this book it's going to suit you no matter what sort of hobbyist gamer you are. If you're really into the rules and trying to make the most out of your army, it's going to have the best rules for your army within this book rather than just the free war scrolls you can get online. And then the app, this book will contain special rules from being part of the Flesh Eater Court allegiance, like I was briefly mentioning earlier, like Grand Courts being the sub-allegiances and your main allegiance abilities. If you're wondering what an allegiance and sub-allegiance is, I have done a video on that, so you can check that out if you want more detail. But it's going to have so much more rules in it. It's going to have your battalion rules. Again, like with 3rd edition around the corner, I've heard that battalions may change a bit. And there may be, well, I say there will be for sure core changes to how Age of Sigmar plays. Will there be massive changes? Will there be minor ones? We will see. Is it just the sake of buying a new book for Games Workshop to make us all buy a new book? Probably, but we will see. And I do feel like this video will still be useful going forward. As I said, that I do want to sort of stop my tactical videos and stuff, but a how to start video, when it it's about an army that's not about to have a new release in terms of models and rules and everything else. It's fairly safe that this video should be relevant for quite a while, so don't you worry about that. And the other thing I will say is that when I talk about buying a new battle tome, obviously if you're watching this video in who knows a year, 2 years from now, and Flesh Eater Courts have got a newer battle tome, don't buy the one you see on the screen. Buy the one that you see, you know, brand new on the shelf in the store. And like I said, so you're going to get all your rules and stuff for your Flesh Eater Courts in this, but also if you're more of like a hobbyist in terms of building and painting, it tells you certain painting tips and everything like that, techniques to try and get certain effects for your Flesh Eater Court army in case you've ever seen stuff on a box and go, oh, I wonder how they painted that like that. It will be in the battle tome. And then also if you're really into the narrative, there's loads of story in here. And there's just so much with the Flesh Eater Courts that I love in terms of their lore alone. So, you know, their story, obviously. And they're just such a quirky army. How, you know, they literally believe that they are heroic knights, of course. But they are, of course, delusional monsters. Or Sigmar propaganda would have us believe that. I've done many lore videos on Flesh Eater Courts. So you can go check that out in further detail. But it's just got everything you need in it to help you be able to pick up your army, design how you want your army to be in a narrative perspective, how you want to model it and paint it up and everything, and then how you actually want to implement your models on the tabletop with the rules you get within the battle tomes. That's why the battle tomes are always useful, as they do always say. It's basically the same for every army. And then when it comes to the Charnel Throne, or the Carnal Throne, however it is pronounced, why do you want this? Firstly, it's a senior piece for your army. That's free in points. Buy it. But then the other thing is that it's going to help you out. It makes the enemy, like, basically, I think it makes it sinister for the enemy. So the enemies within 1 inch of this, the -1 to their bravery, and makes you inspiring, so you're +1 to your bravery. So that's not really a massive thing. But where it is useful, though, is it allows your Abhorrent Ghoul King on foot or your Abhorrent Archer Regent to be able to use their War Scroll command ability once per game without spending a command point. And because both of those abilities allow you to summon models onto the table, especially the Archer Region one, which is particularly good because it can be 20 ghouls, can be a courtier, basically bring on a Vargolf with that one, or it can be a unit of 3 knights, so Crypt Flares and Crypt Horrors. Being able to do that for 1 command point alone, it's only once per game, just remember, but 1 command point alone is very good. The fact that now you don't even have to spend that command point when you do it, even better. So it's definitely useful. It can be a bit of a tie for making you have to keep your Archer Regent back and stuff, but you can trigger it off quite early, or you can have multiple Archer Regents to try and get around that problem. The Archer Regent I never found needed to be up in front. I often stick mine on a bell in Vortex next to the throne. His footprints are quite bigger because of that, and he can keep up the range of his spells. A lot of his spells go now to Holu in 30 inches, where he needs to cast, and he's casting 3 spells, and he's next to the throne for when he needs to pop off the summoning. So I find it works really well. But yeah, those are your first buys. And then the next thing is going to be the Start Collecting box. So I always review the Start Collecting boxes if an army has one when I do these How to Start Collecting Army videos, because Games Workshop always packages these Start Collecting boxes as if that is the pure and simple and only way to start the army. And sometimes, you know, they're right, and I'd say in this case they are, and we'll get into that. But sometimes they're not right, and it can be quite misleading, I find. I'd say more times than not these days, they're probably right, they're not right, but there's still a few ones out there where they're pretty sure they're trying to scam you for money. But with this one, so it costs you £55, so not that much. I mean, I remember the days when all Start Collecting boxes were £50, so I still see that as a price hike, but £55 is the cheapest Start Collecting boxes you can get. There may still be some for 50, but £55 is one of the cheapest, normally probably average about 60. But separately it would cost you £80. So you're making, you know, £25 saving here. Again, if you are in another currency, you know, obviously in another country, I'm not going to break it down to all the different, you know, dollars and everything else. You know, you can do that yourself, but you can get an average of how much you're going to save here. And if you're from Britain, fantastic, you don't have to Google it all. But what do you actually get in this box? So you can see there is a huge amount of text we have written here, and that is purely because there's loads of options you can build. You don't get everything you see here, but you could make, these are all the options you can make, basically. I'll explain it. So what do you get? You get 1 to 5 leaders, which already sounds quite confusing, but what it means is that basically for certain you're going to get yourself an Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist or an Abhorrent Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon or on foot. Now, what does that mean? That means you can obviously build the Abhorrent Ghoul King itself, put it on a Terrorgeist, build the Terrorgeist, you're done. You could build a Zombie Dragon instead and put the Ghoul King on that, you're done. And then you could actually just have a Royal Zombie Dragon or a Royal Terrorgeist on its own like a separate monster and have the Abhorrent Ghoul King on foot. And you're done. Best thing to do is build yourself an Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. It's one of the best units in the army. One of the best monsters in the game for like pound for pound for its points, I would say. Especially, you know, the Allegiance of Flesh Eater Courts or Feeding Frenzy. And it's probably taken in, I don't want to say every, but 90% of Flesh Eater Court armies. If not every single one, I will put that in there. At least one Abhorrent Ghoul King on Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, because it's such a big threat for the enemy to deal with. And I've taken 2 in a list and one and an Abhorrent Ghoul King on a Zombie Dragon as well, and I find that works really, really nicely. But it's just saying that there's lots of different options you can build with this. Alternatively, there is actually another way you can build this if you're going to go Soulblight Gravelords as an example, because this box set does fit into Soulblight Gravelords as well, pretty much. And you could build a I say there's another option, there's 2. So you could have a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon who's on top of this, or you could have Prince Vahordre who is on top of a Zombie Dragon. So really the great thing about the Terrorgeist kit, shall we call it, or the Zombie Dragon kit, is there are actually like 5 War Scrolls you can build from it without going specifically into the Royal Zombie Dragon. I can't even. There's loads of War Scrolls you can build out of that kit. Basically, it's certainly good value to have in this, and you're definitely going to want to have it in a Flesh Eater Court army, basically. And then you get what I've put in brackets now is 1 Cryptghast Courtier, 1 Crypt Infernal Courtier, and 1 Crypt Haunter Courtier. So if you're particularly new to this army, and if you're watching a How to Start Collecting video for this army, I kind of presume you are, and you may be wondering, they all sound the same. What are they? So essentially, a Cryptghast Courtier is the hero version of a Crypt Ghoul, and the Infernal Courtier is the hero version of a Crypt Flayer, and the Crypt Haunter Courtier is a hero version of a Crypt Horror. And you may be looking at this, you may be going, but there's no Crypt Flayers here. Basically, instead of building them as Crypt Horrors, you can build them as Crypt Flayers. And then the other thing to say with that, being Flesh Eater Courts, can't get around. The thing that kind of bugs me with the army, although like I say, I love it, everything else, the thing that bugs me is there's so many, like I said, with the Terrorgeist, you know, there's so many War Scrolls you could make out of it, but it's also with everything else in the army pretty much. Like these 3 Crypt Horrors, for example, you can see on the screen, they will either be made into the Crypt Horrors, or you could turn them into Crypt Haunter Courtiers, which are the heroes, or you could turn them into Crypt Flayers, or you could turn them into Crypt Flare Infernal Courtiers, basically. So the heroes that support the unit, so the hero for the Crypt Horrors, which is the Crypt Haunter Courtier, like I've said, that is made from the Crypt Horror box. So what you'll find is you'll get 3 Crypt Horrors in this box, let's say, or this block collecting box, and you will build one of them as a Crypt Haunter Courtier, let's say. Now you have 2 normal Crypt Horrors. What do you do with 2 normal Crypt Horrors? Because they come in minimum-sized units of 3. Well, you use them for presumably Warcry or something like that. But in seriousness, what you have to do is you end up having to buy more boxes and build like maybe a couple of heroes, or try and buy an odd number amount of Crypt Horrors online or something, and it just gets a bit messy. So the reason why I've put that you can build, you know, the Crypt Infernal Courtier and the Crypt Haunter Courtier from this is because you can, but also, let's say you might already have a few Crypt Horrors in Crypt Flares. You may just want to use the 3 you get from this. Let's say you're going, you know what, I want to get a Terrorgeist, let's say, but I feel like I'm missing a trick if I don't go for the bundle box here and just buy it separately. But I get these extra ones what I don't really need right now. Just build the 3 Crypt Horrors. Just build one as like an Infernal Courtier, one as a Crypt Haunter Courtier, and then the other one as either another Infernal or another Haunter. And then it just sort of like sorts out your hero problem you've got, to the fact that you have to dig into the unit box to make them, basically. So that's what I'd say. But then the Cryptghast Courtier is a bit harder, because basically you turn one of the Crypt Ghouls into a Cryptghast Courtier, And how do you do that, basically? Essentially, you just put... Is the mouse going to work? Yeah, you can see the mouse on the screen. So you put this one with the skeleton on his back. You put him on a 32mm base instead of a 25mm base. And yeah, he's a hero. Which sounds great. It's like, I don't have to buy, you know, separate heroes for like £15-20 in this army. That's amazing. Might sound good. But now you're left with 9 Crypt-Ghouls. And what are you going to do with 9 Crypt-Ghouls? I don't know. I've got that problem. But because I've got so many Crypt-Ghouls, I only need to worry about it if I hit like... If I'm taking like 80 to a battle or something. So, as I only have like... I think I have like 79... because then one of them is a Crypt-Ghast Courtier. So I don't have to worry about it too much, but it means I can't really go all in on the Crypt-Ghouls at the moment. So it's just it's a bless. Is it really? Yeah, it's a blessing and it's a curse, but it's mainly a curse, I would say. So I would rather just buy those single kits. But what I will say is, if you've got, for example, the Warhammer Quest Underworld box set, where you not Warhammer Quest Underworld, that's two things together. The Flesh Eater Court Underworld box set. What you get from there is like a little warband where you get like a couple of bats, some like unique looking Crypt-Ghouls, but you also are going to get like a Crypt-Ghoul hero type guy. Again, you can use these models from Underworld. They have their own War Scroll in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. However, War Scroll, not so good, but you can use the unique looking ghouls from it as Crypt-Ghast Courtiers. So there's a way around that feels a lot more convenient than buying boxes upon boxes upon boxes of Crypt-Ghouls to try and make up on odd numbers. But yeah, that's pretty much. Or like, if you can get an odd number amount of Crypt Horrors, Crypt Flares, Crypt-Ghouls online, it's never a bad thing really, because it will help you make up on those numbers. But that's basically it. It's a long way to explain that, but I have to explain it now. Otherwise, I think to a new person that will look quite confusing. And you got any more questions on that and stuff? I have already explained it in like other Flesh Eater Court videos I've done, but put it in the comments of this and I'll be happy to try and explain it more one-to-one to you, because if you want to get into this army, it's a problem you have to get around. But then when you go onto your battle line, you have one which is 10 Crypt-Ghouls, so that's also presumably that you're not building a Crypt-Ghast, and I think you get 10, so that's good. Crypt-Ghouls is something that, if you want to go like, for example, if I call my Terrorgeist army, it's where I have like 2 Terrorgeists with Abhorrent Ghoul Kings on top and a Abhorrent Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon on top, like I've already mentioned. After I have that and a few other bits, I'm running out of space for battle line in terms of spaces in. I'm running out of points for them, so I just need 3 cheap battle lines, so just 3 like 10-man units of ghouls or something. So it's perfect. Ghouls are actually a solid unit as well if you take them of 40. And there's a Grand Court as well that specialises in ghouls, and you can do a lot with them. So yeah, 10 ghouls is it's not bad. Obviously 20 would be better, but you're already getting quite a bit of stuff from this box. And then the next thing you're going to get is one battle line if option. So otherwise it's an other unit, or it's a battle line if. And what do I mean by that? So you're going to get yourself 3 Crypt Flares or 3 Crypt Horrors, depending on how you want to build them. And again, presuming you're not making heroes out of them, like I mentioned. So the Crypt Flares become battle line if you're taking them in Blister Skin, which is a Grand Court. And the Crypt Horrors become battle line if you take them in Hollowmourne, or if you take the if you take the Crypt Horrors with a Crypt Haunter as your general. So the hero version of a Crypt Horror is general. He makes these battle line the same way as if you take a Crypt Infernal Courtier, the Flare hero as your general. He makes, well, I say he or she makes the Crypt Flares become a battle line. So you don't have to go for those Grand Courts if you don't want to. There is like an other loop around to get to it. And there's not really a specific reason why you would go, oh, if I make like something like a smaller sort of hero, not a big monster, my general, I'm really missing out. Not really. I mean, you'll miss out on choice of, certainly what command trait you can take. But apart from that, it's not really too much of a problem, to be honest. But yeah, so the start collecting box for the Flesh Eater Courts, it's good just generally. It's a good start collecting box comparing it to the rest of them. What makes it that much better, and the reason why I said, you just buy like 4 of them or something at the start, is because this is a huge amount of your model range for your army in one box. The only things that you can't buy, the only things that you don't get in this box and you would have to buy outside of this box for your army is the like Warhammer Worlds, Warhammer Underworld. There we go. I'll get it right one day. That warband, but don't worry about that. Like I said, use it for conversion purposes. Basically, you're not going to get yourself a Vargolf Courtier. which you do want in your army, so you're going to have to buy that separately or maybe convert it up. I've converted it up from crypt flares and stuff, so you can do it, or third party, everything else. And you're not going to get an archer regent, which is something you do want in your army as well, as we're going to go into next. But you could buy this box 3-4 times. It's going to get you all the big monsters you want. It's going to not get you a lot of crypt ghouls. If you want to go heavy on the infantry and the crypt ghoul side of Flesh Eater Courts, you're going to need to buy some more outside of that. But if you buy 4 of these boxes, still gets you 40 crypt ghouls, which is a big, decent sized unit. It's going to get you obviously 12 crypt flares or horrors or some heroes and stuff in that process as well, by just buying 4 of these boxes for, to be honest, not too much money compared to a lot of the other armies out there. I mean, 4 of these boxes would cost you, just trying to do the quick maths now, is that £220, I think? So that's not really too bad considering what you get from it. You get basically a 2,000 point army with a few changes and stuff here and there where you would need to buy separately. But apart from that, I think it's one of the best star collecting boxes in Age of Sigmar to get into an army. So a massive thumbs up from me. And then the next thing I do want to say though is there is a other box that you can buy Flesh Eater Courts. I'm not going to be talking about this for long, it's just going to be a very quick thing. And it's from the Broken Realms tech list when that came out. Basically, most armies that are featured in these Broken Realm books, these campaign books we've got at the moment, tend to get like a box set that comes out for them, which is a bundle box, which is nice, which is good. However, they're not permanent and they're not always going to be around forever. So I don't really want to make them a big part of these reviews because someone might be watching this from a year from now and this box is no longer available. So there's no much point talking about it. But for those people here and now, the Gorestain Mortals Hell Court. So this box where you're going to get yourself 20 crypt ghouls, you're going to get yourself 3 crypt horrors / crypt flares and an arch regent. What do I think of this box for £50? If this box is still available, I would say buy it. I would say this is a good combination to buy this with a start collecting box. When I say buy this over a start collecting box, I wouldn't. The start collecting box I would say is better. However, if you want to go more on the crypt ghoul side, obviously you're going to get more crypt ghouls here, but also this is like probably the only box set for a long time where you're going to get yourself a archer regent in a bundle. So I would say buy this if you can right now. Buy it with a Flesh Eater Court start collecting box. And I think with that, it's got you your Terrorgeist, your Zombie Dragon with the Ghoul King on top, whatever you want to build. It's giving you 6 flares or 6 horrors, and it's giving you 30 ghouls, and then it's giving you your Arch Regent, which you're decent on your way there from being probably like half a decent size collection to start having fun with and stuff. And you could obviously start playing with it straight away, but I'm talking about that sort of 2,000 point mark. But no, so it's got a thumbs up for me, but it's not going to be around forever, so I'm not going to go into too much of detail about it. But then the next thing to talk about, and then like the last thing what we'll be talking about in this, is I like to try and do auto includes and almost auto includes in an army. So why I do this is because sometimes when you look at an army, it can be a bit daunting. And Flesh Eater Courts, why it's not really like the biggest army in terms of model range. To be honest, if you go onto the Games Workshop website and you look at Flesh Eater Courts, and if you're brand new to it, there's a lot of unit, like, I don't want to say, not models, but a lot of unit selection, because they break down all the certain heroes, like the Crypt Infernal Courtier, the Crypt Haunter Courtier, etc., as separate listings. So it looks like there's a lot you could buy, and then the reason why I do this is to try and help you narrow down what you need for your army and then what you can basically flavour to taste. So the first thing I'm going to say is you're going to want to get yourself an Abhorrent Arch Regent. The reason for this is, like I said, he has fantastic summoning capability. He's a 2-cast wizard. He's not too expensive in points either. He is good at healing as well, so he can be quite survivable. And the reason why he's a good caster as well, and why is that useful, is Flesh Eater Courts have a lot of synergy, and then they have even more synergy when it comes to involving their spell lore. However, you cannot guarantee your spells going off in Age of Sigmar, especially at the moment. Don't know if 3rd edition is going to change stuff, but especially at the moment when you have massive powerhouses out there, Croak, Techless, all that sort of unbinding a lot of stuff. So the Arch Regent is very, very useful. Go, like, if we'd say no Grand Court, and you're to go with a delusion, which is Feast Day, so you can do Feed and Frenzy, you know, once per turn for free. Fantastic. I talked about it in Why Not Pick a Grand Alliance, so go check that video if you like to, part of the Flesh Eater Court series. And like I said, the Flesh Eater Court series are done. It will be one of the suggested things at the end of this video that you can click on, so if you wait until the end, you'll be able to see everything else I've done, and you go on that playlist, or just check out on the channel, like I say. But what you do is you go Feed and Frenzy, obviously Feast Day, things like that. But now, because you haven't gone a Grand Court, you can pick your command trait, you can pick your artifact. And what I do is I give the Abhorrent Archer Regent the Dark Wizardry command trait and the Dermal Robe artifact, and each one of those gives him +1 to cast and +1 to unbind. So now he is +2 to cast and +2 to unbind. I put him on a Bellwind Vortex. Now he can cast 3 spells. He's got a free up save because the Bellwind Vortex currently at the moment gives him that extra +1 save. His base is bigger. The range of his spells, like I said, are now mainly wholly within 30 inches, you know, depending on the spell, of course. And he's also next to the throne to be able to bring on his summoning when needed without having to sort of like hang back, do it early so then he can move up the board. You haven't really got too much of a problem with that. And the Archregent has a particularly good spell that allows one of your Flesh Eater Court units, again within a certain range, have an extra D3 attacks, which is huge, especially when you give that to an Abhorrent Ghoul King on a Terrorgeist, because the Abhorrent Ghoul King, without, like, if you played against Flesh Eater Courts or you know them a bit, you'll probably know the Abhorrent Ghoul King with his Maw. So this is the big Terrorgeist jaws. When they go to attack, it's 3 attacks, hits on the 4s, wounded on 3s, -2 rend, d6 damage. Might seem like a good, but just like a standard sort of dragon attack. However, if you get any 6s to hit, it's 6 mortal wounds instead of normal damage, which is huge. There is a mount trait you can take to give one of your basically Terrorgeists, if you haven't got a battalion in your army, a re-rolls to that hit roll for the jaws. It's called the Gruesome Bite. So you hit on 4s, re-rolling, any 6s doing 6 mortal wounds. You then give the Archer Regent spell, you put it on the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. Of course you're going to roll best as you can, and you're going to get yourself an extra 3 attacks because you'll cast the spell, and then you'll get D3 extra attacks, and you'll land that 5 and 6 guaranteed in 1 out of 10 games. And what that will do is that will allow your Terrorgeist to now have 6 attacks with its jaws, and then you do Feed and Frenzy with it, because you can do Feed and Frenzy in Flesh Eater Courts anyway, but because you've gone for Feast Day, you can do it once per turn for free, so why not? And now that means that Terrorgeist, after it's attacked, it can immediately partner and attack again because it's Feed and Frenzied, which means that really kind of technically it's 2 activations, but kind of in one straight go, it's made, was it 12 attacks with that Gruesome Bite, because it went to 6 and then it's just attacked again, isn't it? So just double that basically. So 12 attacks, which is huge, and you can just see where the synergy ties in. And taking the Abhorrent Archer Regent, although he doesn't get like any inherent plus the cast by himself, you know, to put him over an Abhorrent Ghoul King, his spell is better. The Abhorrent Ghoul King just gives you a +1 attack, which is good. You can stack that with the D3, but it's obviously not as good as D3. This guy can cast 2 spells, so he can cast a spell from the lore as well. Put him on a like I say, a Bellwind. He's got a 3-up save. He heals 3 wounds a turn. Very survivable unless the enemy just goes, I want him dead. If the enemy's done that quite a few times, just take 2 of these guys and it makes it harder for the enemy to do so. He's going to bring on 20 ghouls or Vargolf. And to be honest, the Vargolf is something that I don't always take in my army list, but if I don't do that, it's because I'm planning to summon it on later. But yeah, so that's why you go for an Abhorrent Archer Regent. Again, I've done a full review on this guy as well as anything else in this army. I've fully reviewed it in its own video. And then you've got the, as I put, AGKO2. So what does that mean? It's just Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, basically. I think people call it Raw Terrorgeist. That's just too many letters. So why do we want this? I think, to be honest, I've kind of explained it when I was talking about the Abhorrent Archer Regent. But for, like I said, how much damage potential this guy can do, and the fact that he is, again, points are about to change, so I don't want to nail down a Jacq point, but let's just say he's 400 roughly points. He is a bargain, because the fact when you take one of these things with Feed and Frenzy, basically you have 2. Because, again, they can't be in 2 different places at once because they're not actually 2 different models, but they just do 2 monsters worth of attacks, shall we say. 2 models worth of attacks. So it's really, really useful, and because of that, it's why you want to have a Abhorrent Ghoul King on top of it, because although it's the big Terrorgeist that does all the damage, to do Feeding Frenzy, it's command ability from Flesh Eater Courts, and you have to be, I think, wholly within 12 inches of a Flesh Eater Court hero, or wholly within 8 inches of a Flesh Eater Court hero as a general. I think there's that little bit on the end as well. And if it's just a Royal Terrorgeist you've got, you're going to be worrying about making sure it's always within range of the ability to get your Feeding Frenzy off. However, if you've got a Ghoul King on top of it, the model itself is a hero, so it's always within range of itself. So that's why I always like taking an Abhorrent Ghoul King on a Terrorgeist rather than just on a Terrorgeist by itself. I always find that to be useful, and that's why I like it. And that's like why I haven't really played much in Gristlegore, because I really like the heroes being on top, so I don't have to worry about that sort of range as being a problem. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. He's also got a nice spell, which is Unholy Vitality there. You put it on a unit within range, a friendly unit, and then they have a 5-up wound and mortal wound save. But because you can't stack that with the 6-up wound and mortal wound save you get from Deathly Courtiers, just being Flesh Eater Courts within range of a hero, it's not as good. But if you had to put on a big unit of Crypt Ghouls that might be out of range of that Deathly Courtiers or something, then you can see this extra use in it there. But yeah, you take this guy for his damage potential for sure. And if you take 2 of them, like I do, you know, the enemy can try and deal with 1, but they're going to struggle to deal with 2. And if they can kill both your Terrorgeists before you can get to them, then, you know, maybe play against a different army. But going on to the next thing we've got is a Varghulf Courtier. So I just said that I don't always include this guy in my list, but that's just because if I don't have enough points, I won't include him because I know I can summon him on with my Abhorrent Archregent later because he can summon on a Courtier. The Varghulf Courtier is the biggest model. Why do I use him? I use him for a supportive role because he can bring back Crypt Horrors, Crypt Flares and Crypt Ghouls, right? And he's not bad in combat to the point where he can be a beast in combat on his own. And although I haven't got loads of experience using him as this, there is something called the Smash Bat, which is something I fully explained in probably half the video for the Holomorn Grand Court. So go definitely check that out. If you heard about the Smash Bat and you go, oh yeah, I want to know a little bit about that, I explained full in detail. Basically, this simple Varghulf here, he looks very big. Trust me, it's a lot smaller just because obviously I had to shrink all the images. But he can chuck out an incredible amount of pain when fully buffed. Like, honestly, the person who figured out the Smash Bat, thank you so much, because it just made so much fun. I love the Varghulf. I know a lot of people don't like the old model and everything like that. I like it from nostalgia purposes, so I like the model, I like the lore, I like the terms that it's in game, because it's like a supportive character that when you just need to do some hurt to the enemy, you can. Like, for example, he gets to reroll failed hit rolls if a Flesh Eater Court wizard, I believe, casts a spell within 18 inches of him. It's just like, and that's something you're going to be wanting to be doing all the time because, like I said, a lot of your buffs come from your spells. So it's just like a nice little synergy there. He brings models back and he can smash things as well. Again, I won't go too much into detail with the Varghulf Courtier, because in that video for the Holomorn Why Play Holomorn Grand Court I did loads, but what I will say is why take him over like the other 2 courtiers we've got down here in the almost auto includes. I know there's the Cryptghast Courtier, but I'll be honest, I've never really taken, I think I've taken one like once or twice and that's it. But why did we take the Courtier? It's because if you got the points, it's just a tiny bit, little bit more points than the other 2. That's who I'm comparing them against. And you get so much more. You get so much combat offensiveness. Yeah, you go from a 4-up save to a 5-up save, but you have a few more wounds to compensate it. He can fly, obviously, compared to the Crypt Haunter Courtier, but it means that he can be on the front line, supporting, bringing back your Crypt Horrors and your Crypt Flares, like I say, your Crypt Ghouls as well. But he can also be attacking and doing damage to the enemy. He can be a mini threat as well. And that's if you don't put a lot of investment into him to resources by buffing him up. If you make him be the Smash Bat, then like, bloody hell, the enemy's going to have to worry about that a lot. And then if you take a Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist as well, and maybe 2 of them, you're giving the enemy a lot of things to have to worry about. So yeah, the Varghulf Courtier is really good. I have taken 2 as well before, just because they're really useful for bringing back models. He heals as well. If you kill stuff, definitely one of my favourite units in this army. For me personally, my favourite units are probably the Abhorrent Ghoul King, the Abhorrent Archregent. So the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, the one off, like I said, pretty expensive in points for what he does. So yeah, the one on Ghoul King, the Abhorrent Archregent, and then the Varghulf Courtier. because I think that's great. And if you guys have got good stories of the Varghulf Courtier Smashbat, you know, put that in the comments down below. If you've got any good stories with anything in the Flesh Eater Court army, let me know that as well, as it is generally quite fun to hear, as they are certainly a very fluffy army. So going on to the next bit, which is the almost auto include. So what I've got here is the Crypt Haunter Courtier and the Crypt Infernal Courtier. And the reason why I've put them here is because if you want to go, let's say, not taking a Grand Alliance, or you want to take Crypt Horrors as battle line and you don't want to go Hollow-on, you're going to need to take a Crypt Haunter Courtier as your general to make the Crypt Horrors battle line. You're going to need to do that. And then similarly, if you don't want to go for a Grand Court, or basically you just don't want to do the Blister Skin, which, you know, isn't a bad Grand Court, but you want to take Crypt Flares as battle line, like I've taken, I think, like 24 in many games before and stuff. Like, I'm big fan of Crypt Flares. I used to play them loads as well, especially in like the first edition of the Flesh Eater Court Battletome. But anyway, so you want to take Crypt Flares, you don't want to go Blister Skin, you're going to need to take a Crypt Infernal Courtier as your general. And again, they bring back the Crypt Flares. If you go the Haunter, brings back the Crypt Horrors. So it's not just like, oh, I have to take this to my general, it's not going to add anything to my army. You're going to want to take them in your army anyway. And then you can take Varghulfs and stuff to help you really bring back those models to their full potential. Like, I've honestly had it where I've had a unit of 12 Crypt Flares, like I say, like unit of 12. I don't know if that's completely right, because I always do it because the enemy can never kill it, basically, and that's the idea. Unless, I think I went against like 3 Keepers of Secrets once, and yeah, they certainly killed it. But apart from that, so what you do is obviously like a unit of 12, you've got a bunch of Courtiers, and I've had it where I think I had a unit of 12 down to like 4, and in one hero phase I brought, you know, 6 Flares back, which is, you know, 4 wounds apiece. So that is, what's that, 24, yeah, 24 wounds back to that unit. My opponent really wanted to hurt my models at that point, and I don't mean in terms of by killing them in the game, but actually picking them up and smashing them, as that may be the only way to put them down, but it certainly was a tactic that I fully enjoyed. And then obviously, like, they did a lot of damage. I think it was Dead Watch, but I also had like a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist and stuff, like flanking around doing more damage. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And with that, guys, I am going to call the video here, because like I say, I've done plenty of videos on Flesh Eater Courts, like just every single unit's been reviewed, apart from the Underworld's Warband, I think, because it didn't come out at the time and couldn't really be bothered. But I've done everything on there. I've done like why play Flesh Eater Court, so like I say, go check that out, tribute videos, everything else. And I have also done, you know, a how to start collecting Flesh Eater Court video before, but like I said, as this was voted in, I thought I'd do it again. And because it's a couple of years old, it's good to retouch on the army. And the army, a lot of it has stayed the same, but some things have changed for sure. But what I will say as well is that although I'm a very big Flesh Eater Court player, and it's one of my favourite armies, of course there may be some things I've missed out. And if you're an experienced player and you feel like, oh, I should have mentioned this or I should have mentioned that, let me know that down below in the comments, because it's not just me who's going to learn from it, it's everyone who's watching this video wants to learn information on how is the best way to start a Flesh Eater Court army. And if you can help with that, that would be amazing. Put anything I missed down below in the comments. And if you guys are on the other side of it and you haven't got experience, you've got more questions, like I said, this is an army that I know a lot about. So unlike some of the armies where I know I do my best to read into them and give you guys as much advice, this is an army that I've had experience for, I don't know, the last 5 years I've been gathering experience with this army. So if you've got any questions or anything on the Flesh Eater Courts, let me know that in the comments down below, and I'm trying to help you guys as best I can. Of course, like I said at the start of the video, we've got 3rd edition around the corner, so we don't know what changes it's going to bring, but hey, start collecting an army, unless they're going to get a massive update, which Flesh Eater Courts, as far as I'm aware, are not going to get a massive update anytime soon. The information on how to start collecting them relatively stays the same. But if you've got any more questions, like I said, put that down below. If you did enjoy the video, like I always say, guys, it would make a huge difference to me to absolutely smash the head out of that like button, the subscribe button, the bell notification by liking the channel, and by, well, liking the channel, hopefully, but by liking the video, it means that I know that you guys enjoy this sort of content, and I know that you guys would like me to do more videos on Flesh Eater Courts in the future, or just more videos on how to start collecting armies, as I think that's information that we could all use for. Like, for example, if I was looking to how to start 40k army, for example, which I don't know as much about, I'd definitely appreciate it if there are videos out there on how to start collecting that army in 40k. I think it's a very useful thing, because at the end of the day, how to start collecting is like how to spend your money, isn't it? At the end of it, it's not like certain tactics within an army, and doing tactic army videos, because you've probably already spent the money on your army. This is before you spent it, so that's why I think it's important to get these out, despite new editions and stuff coming around the corner. And I know you guys have been waiting on this for a while, but by subscribing to the channel, essentially it's the main way how the channel grows. So obviously the more subscribers the channel gets, the bigger it gets and the better content I can produce for you guys. And by pressing the bell notification, it means that you'll never miss a future video of mine, be in any one of my series or anything coming out in the future. And I will be doing, obviously, compulsory lots of videos on how to start collecting coming out, obviously, as we go into 3rd edition, and I'll be doing specific videos on 3rd edition as well, and Soulblight Grave Lords as well. If you're still in the theme of Undeath, I'll be doing videos on that shortly as well when I get my hands on that Battletome. But I've got an update on that. I don't think I ordered my Battletome last week, and I don't think I'm going to get it for like 4 days after release day, unfortunately, so it'll take a bit of time. But oh well, if Games Workshop would ever like to send me a free copy, I would 100% sell out and do that. But with that out of the way, guys, if you did enjoy the video, like I said, like, subscribe and comment, and make sure you press the bell notification. And also feel free to share this video if you feel like someone else would enjoy it and find it useful. And don't forget to join the Discord we've got on the channel as well. So go to the description of this video, press the Discord link, and it'll take you to my Discord, where we always have loads of conversation. A lot of it is about the Death Grand Alliance and stuff at the moment because of Soulblight and stuff. So if you're definitely into that sort of thing, join that and ask your questions away. And what I have just realised is, because I've been doing this, relatively new, by putting myself in the top corner, probably has completely cut out the Arch Regent. So there was an Arch Regent here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but let's see if I exit out of... Yeah, there we go. There's an Arch Regent there. So that was probably blocked the whole time. But that's what I was referring to. I wasn't calling myself an Arch Regent. But the other thing I just want to say as well is, of course, like I did at the start of the video, I do want to do it now as well, which is a massive shout out to my YouTube members and my Patreons. So because of these people, I'm able to keep this up. As I always say, YouTube and Patreon, and even with the memberships and everything like that, the money I get back from it doesn't nearly outweigh the money and the resources and mainly the time you put into doing a YouTube channel. But what these people allow me to do is justify, knowing that these people care that much to support me personally, then I know that it's worth my time to be able to produce these videos, because I know a lot of you people really, really do enjoy, and it's very heartwarming to hear that. But what I'd like to say is, if any of you would like to become one of these amazing people, smash the join button, which is next to the subscribe button. It will allow you to become a member here on Age of Nagash, where you can just give anything from £1 a month to the channel, goes straight towards me being able to keep this up, like I say. Or you can find a link to my Patreon on top of the description down below, or if you click that link, take you to my Patreon, you can just give something from $1 a month. Will go straight towards keeping the channel going, and I'd be absolutely over the moon if any of you guys could do that. It would mean the world to me. But if you can't, like I say, smash the like, subscribe and bell notification, as they're all completely free and help the channel as well. But the people who made that amazing decision to try and support the channel as best they can are going to be, like I said, my patrons and my YouTube members. So starting with my Vampire Lords on Zombie Dragons is going to be Stuart F and Filq. Thank you so much for supporting that tier, like I mentioned earlier. Amazing support you give to the channel. Don't have to say apart from please keep it up, really. Please keep it up. And no, thank you so much for your very kind generosity. And then my Morgasts, who is Bleed Red, so thank you so much for your continued support, mate, as well. That makes a huge difference. And then my Vampires, or Abhorrent Ghoul Kings, I suppose you would call it for this. It's going to be Mir, Martin S, Rouse321, David A, Ronni H, SpareBear, Christopher H, Stence, Northdrop, Nathan F, and Andrew G. Thank you so much as well for your continued support, as I know a lot of you have been supporting Vampires for a long time now, and the Vampire tier certainly does a massive difference in supporting the channel, so thank you so much. And then my Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas, WolfNick, Michal W, Quad, Cranky Wombat, Christopher C, Christopher F, James S, Robin S, Steve T, James T, Patrick F, JJ, Thomas B, R. Christopher and Madcap. Thank you all so much for allowing me to keep doing this channel. If I said it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this, wouldn't be worth the time or effort. So, but what I know from you guys is, you know that I said, like, it makes it all worth it. So thank you so much for deciding to do that. If anyone would like to become one of these amazing people, like I said, click the join button or a link to the Patreon would make a huge difference to the channel and would be really grateful. But if you can't do that, like I say, like, subscribe, bell notification, and comment anything you would like to ask me. Comments down below about flesh-eater courts. And with that aside, guys, beyond anything else, I'm just really glad that you came and watched this video today. I hope you found it useful and exciting, and maybe gave you a bit of advice on how to start a fantastic army being the flesh-eater courts. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember to stay safe, stay hygienic, wear a mask, and for God's sake, wash your hands when you've been eating corpses, because really it's not that hygienic, is it? And we want to be able to play the flesh-eater courts as soon as we can in real life again. But more importantly than all of that, is remember until next time that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.